The war between Venezuela and US have escalated like anything. We have been hearing so much about the war, and we have been discussing this one point. Why is India so silent and has not come up with any such conclusion on the war? On the other side, if I tell you why it is very important for India to discuss on it or to come out and have a bite on it, it's only because Venezuela was in great ties with Russia, China, and Asian countries. And these Asian countries are in good ties with India right now. So it was mandatory for India to react on this whole thing. But PM Narendra Modi had another plan. This whole war was just a turmoil for one country, which was China. And on the other hand, US wanted to capture all the oil asset just because Venezuela was giving 70% of their oil asset to China. And that is how both of them played so far. So basically, it is a big loss for China. But here's this one side why Narendra Modi right now is so silent on this entire topic. There's only one reason for that, because PM Narendra Modi is seeing a bigger picture. Yes, you wouldn't believe if I tell you that this whole war and this whole capturing where US has captured Venezuela has actually benefited India in so many ways. Yes, let's start with what has been happened till now and what has been going to happen after this entire time. So basically, we have heard that how US President Donald Trump captured, or should I say abducted, Venezuela's president and his wife to New York City and everything like that, right? But why did he do that? He did it because he wanted to capture the oil asset out there. And US President Donald Trump has also said that I am going to govern the whole country like anything. So basically, there was this one time in 2007 when Venezuela was completely relied on their oil asset, and they were only giving it to China, whereas the US was having problem with it because US was saying that you're not giving us the oil and also keeping up the narco terrorism at our place. So basically, that was the biggest problem. But after a while, when US started putting up sanctions on Venezuela, Venezuela said that whatever US is going to say, we are going to do that. We are going to give you the oil, and we are going to cut down our oil and our exports from China, right? Then there was this one big deal, and there was this one man who wanted to destroy everything because he had another plan, which was Marco Rubio. Yes, he said that okay, if you're giving it to China, fine, we are going to annex the whole country. Because he wanted to annex the whole country, he rejected Maduro's plan where they were giving oil asset to US also. Yes, this was the truth, and it is not, come up in anywhere of any Western media outlets, or nobody is telling you about it. But this was true because they were thinking to capture the whole country. Now imagine this one thing: you have been given the oil asset versus you can control the whole country. What would you prefer? Obviously, everybody prefers to control the whole country, and that is why this all plan started. All of this have not been something that after New Year, Donald Trump thought of a resolution and they came up with this whole plan. This is nothing new what they have created right now. It has been in the business from so long. I will tell you how it all has been connected. So Marco Rubio went to Donald Trump and said, listen, let's just annex the whole country. I have an idea. And then there comes the Nobel Peace thing. Do you remember this one time that Donald Trump was telling so out loud that I want the Nobel Peace Award and why am I not getting in everything? And do you also remember that who got the Nobel Peace? The lady who got Nobel Peace was the biggest opposition from Venezuela. And recently in November, she was seen in a meet where she was having this whole meeting with IMF and some big US business tycoon. How do you think? It's almost like imagine that Rahul Gandhi going to US and having meeting with IMF and other and Donald Trump and other big media houses and big business tycoons of US. Why would these people cater Rahul Gandhi? Only because if they wanted to put Rahul Gandhi at some par. In the similar manner, hypothetically, if you see right now, they wanted and they have planned everything with the opposition lady out there. They wanted to make her the president and take away Maduro from Venezuela because they knew that Venezuela and Maduro has their inclination towards China and nothing can keep them away from it. That's all. There, with the planning of Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and this lady, they all first captured Venezuela's president. And right now, there's this whole thing which is happening out there in Venezuela. They're keeping up their interim government, and the interim government is also having ties with US and US President Donald Trump. So basically, Donald Trump has played a big game, and out there in front of the entire world has been coming up with this whole issue and saying that just because Venezuela was coming up with narco terrorism, we have did it. It was nowhere like that. It was also not because of the oil asset which was denied to US. It was because US President Donald Trump wanted to capture the whole country. And after the interim government gets over, after the election, you see this whole lady who was in opposition, who had made plans and ties with US President Donald Trump, will become the next president of Venezuela. And thus, US President Donald Trump is going to indirectly manage the whole country. That was the master plan of US President Donald Trump. But that is not where we have to focus right now. We have to focus how India is going to be benefited with it. So basically, you need to understand this one thing. So in the entire world, Venezuela has the larger amount of crude oil. Yeah, but it is not as soft as Russia and Saudi Arabia. The crude oil which we find there is a little hard in texture and everything. And if you see in the entire world, there are only three machineries and factories which can refine it. And one of them is Reliance Jamnagar refinery. And that is where India is going to be benefited. So basically, if US gets the whole part and US gets a whole oil asset, he still has to come to India for refining it and selling it to other nations. In that manner, not only US oil will be delivered to Jamnagar, but also India can also go there and buy the oil from those countries and from Venezuela. India was before Russia. Actually, India used to buy crude oil from Venezuela only, but US sanctions was something which made it so much impossible for Reliance and ONGC and other companies of India to do a trade with Venezuela and everything. Not just that, India's 1 billion was also stuck with Venezuela because sanctions came up and nobody was able to give the money. So now, when US will capture the whole country, they would be given this whole asset that now their 1 billion can be given back to New Delhi. And also, not just that, this whole time Reliance can get the power which they always wanted. Reliance Jamnagar refinery can get world's recognition. Not just that, if this works out for India, this particular time, India will not just get crude oil from Russia. They can also get crude oil and also from a different texture and quality from Venezuela, and that too on a discounted rate. It is a profitable deal for India. Not just that, if you see the stock market of Reliance, it shooted like anything. It was on the increment like anything. Supposedly, if Reliance is making a profit of 40 crore, 40,000 crore, now later after this, after Venezuela gets the refinery and everything, Reliance is going to make a profit of 80,000 crore. That is how the double the amount now Reliance is going to make the money. But do you think that only Reliance is going to make? No, Reliance is going to make the money. The Indian government is going to take their cut into it, and also we can make more diesel and sell it not just within the parts of within the parts of Europe, but also to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and we're going to have it all there. Now, coming on the other hand, another perspective. So basically, Venezuela has always been a country who has a lot of asset and still was so much denied with what kind of asset they used to have because of the governance out there. Right now, people are praising, and some of the leftist government and all of it, they're going against Donald Trump and they're praising Maduro like anything. But Maduro wasn't a good president, and that was the only reason why people in Venezuela right now are celebrating like anything that Maduro has been abducted and kidnapped, because they were so much devastated by the fact that he was the president. He was the one person who because of whom there was so much corruption, and the country almost went on 400% of inflation. Do you understand that? He started demonetization in the country, and not just that, the point which is going to shock you right now is something which you have never heard before. So basically, Venezuela went on a par of poverty like anything, that right now, if legally there is a country on this entire world where you get human flesh, that is Venezuela. Because people does not have food to eat, people does not have agriculture out there, people does not have money to buy things, and that is how Maduro has destroyed the economy and everything inside Venezuela. And this is how they have been treated. So basically, people in Venezuela are very happy. It is a very good news for India. And on the other hand, Venezuela has a lot of number of gold, then bronze, then silver, and so many things. So basically, if the war happens between both the country, US and Venezuela, although Venezuela does not have that much military power that they can, fight against such a developed country like US, and also they don't have any such regret that Maduro has been kidnapped. They don't care about him at all. But if this whole things happen and everything happened, then the price of the gold out there in Venezuela will increase like anything. And if that increases, people are going to get attracted towards Indian gold, because Indian gold has also a good power, or should I say a good standard when it comes to market. And that is how the demand for Indian gold are going to increase and increase over Venezuela gold. So that is how we can also gain a lot of money and traction in the Indian market. So that is all for today. If you like such geopolitical scoop, do not forget to like, share and subscribe Global Shark. Thank you so much for watching us. And also this was Shiv Chitranshi signing off.